So, guys, as you already know, ESPN recently released its annual quarterback rankings, but one thing that immediately caught everyone's attention was that Jayden Daniels wasn't even included in the top 10. That decision sparked a lot of debate across the NFL world, as many fans and analysts felt Daniels was being seriously underestimated after what he's already accomplished early in his career. But now, one of the league's most respected NFL analysts has stepped in with a completely different opinion. Instead of leaving Jayden outside the top 10 conversations, he made a massive statement about where Daniels belongs, not just among today's quarterbacks, but among every quarterback from the 2024 draft class. So, what exactly did he say? Why does he believe Jayden Daniels deserves much more respect than he's getting? Let me break it all down for you. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so let's actually get into this, because this whole ESPN thing has been sitting with me for a couple days now, and honestly, I still can't fully get over it. Jayden Daniels, outside the top 10, I had to read that twice. And look, I get rankings are subjective, I get everybody's got their own criteria, but come on, man. This is a guy who, in his rookie year alone, did things we haven't seen from a first-year quarterback in a long, long time. So, when ESPN dropped him just outside that top group, it felt off. It felt like people were judging him off one rough, injury-shortened stretch instead of the full body of work he's actually put together. But here's the thing that actually made me want to make this video. Louis Riddick, most respected analyst in the league, didn't just disagree with that ranking, he went way further than that. He basically said, forget just this year's quarterback rankings, let's talk about the entire 2024 draft class, top to bottom. And when he laid out where he had Jayden in that class, it wasn't close. So let's walk through exactly what he said, because I think it's going to make a lot of sense once you hear the full breakdown. He started by saying he'd still put Jayden first, ahead of everybody from that draft, and his reasoning was pretty simple. He said when you look at the total package, the mental processing, the physical tools, the fact that he's a legit dual threat guy who can beat you with his arm and his legs, there's nobody in that class who checks every single box the way Jayden does. After him, he had Maye, then Caleb Williams, then Bo Nix. And then things got interesting, because after that trio, he said it's a real debate between McCarthy and Michael Penix. For McCarthy, his concern was mostly about availability, just being able to stay on the field and stack reps. And for Penix, he wasn't sure his situation was ever going to fully open up for him the way it needed to. So you can see, right away, this wasn't some random hot take. This guy actually thought it through, and honestly, I think a lot of us have been thinking the exact same thing for a while now. We just haven't heard someone with a big platform say it this directly. Now here's where it gets good, because Riddick didn't just rank Jayden first and leave it there. He backed it up with the actual numbers, and honestly, once you hear these side by side, it's hard to argue with them. Let's start with the rookie year itself. Jayden finished top 4 in QBR among every quarterback in the league, as a rookie. He ran for right around 800 yards, threw about 25 touchdowns, and kept his interceptions in single digits. And he did all of that with, honestly, a pretty thin supporting cast around him. That part matters a lot, because if you gave him the receivers that Maye had, or the weapons that Caleb Williams had, or put him in a system with a top-tier offensive mind calling plays, I'm telling you, the numbers would have looked video game level. People love to compare rookie seasons in a vacuum, but they almost never factor in what a guy actually had around him, and that's exactly where this conversation usually goes wrong. There's also the Lamar Jackson comparison that got brought up, and honestly, this one made a lot of noise. As a rookie, Jayden was actually a better passer than Lamar was in his own rookie year. Now, people took that as some kind of disrespect toward Lamar, and it really wasn't. It was just pointing out how special of a rookie season Jayden actually had, using one of the best quarterbacks of this generation as the measuring stick. That's not a shot at Lamar, that's a compliment to Jayden. Now, the real fireworks came when he compared Jayden's rookie season directly to Caleb Williams' second year in the league. And I mean directly, stat for stat. Over the same amount of games Jayden threw for right around 3,500 yards, Caleb was actually a bit higher at just under 4,000. But here's where it flips back in Jayden's favor. His completion percentage was 69% compared to 58%. His passer rating was over 100 compared to 90, and his yards per attempt was higher as well. Even when you dig into the advanced stuff, like PFF's offensive grading and the adjusted completion percentage that accounts for drops, Jayden still comes out ahead in efficiency, even with fewer total yards. And get this, Jayden also had fewer turnover-worthy plays, 11 compared to 19. That's a massive gap, and it's the kind of gap that usually decides these arguments right away, because it shows Jayden was doing more with less risk, not just racking up numbers in a bigger volume offense. Then he went even deeper and broke it down by situation. Under pressure, Jayden's numbers were still better across the board, more touchdowns, higher completion percentage, higher passer rating, better PFF grade, better yards per attempt. And even when the defense sent extra rushers on a blitz, Jayden still had the edge in almost every category. More touchdowns, better completion percentage, higher passer rating, better offensive grade. So, this isn't cherry-picked stats from one good game. This is a full season, broken into different situations, pressure situations, blitz situations, and Jayden holds up in basically all of them. That's the part that really got me, because usually when you dig deeper into splits like that, somebody's numbers fall apart. His didn't. Now, let's get into the part that I think really seals the argument, and that's the playoffs. In the postseason, Jayden threw 5 touchdowns and just 1 interception. His completion percentage was almost 66, he passed for over 800 yards, and his passer rating was just under 98. That's a genuinely elite playoff stat line for anybody, let alone a rookie stepping into that kind of pressure for the very first time. Now compare that to Maye, who completed a little over 58% of his passes through for right around 800 yards, but had 6 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. And honestly, a chunk of that production came late when the game was already decided. His passer rating landed around 82, and it probably would have been even lower if you took away those garbage time numbers. And Caleb Williams, his numbers were even further off, just over 52% completion, around 600 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, some more picks than scores, and a passer rating under 66. So, when you actually line all 3 of those up, it's clear Jayden had the best playoff performance of the 3, and it isn't particularly close. And here's something people tend to skip over completely. The competition mattered too. Jayden had to go through a Super Bowl winning defense in the conference championship on the road for every single one of his playoff games. And even in that game, he wasn't the reason the Commanders lost. He played solid, made a couple mistakes late once the game had already slipped away, but the defense on the other side just rose up and forced a bunch of turnovers down the stretch. Meanwhile, the quarterbacks he's being compared to faced weaker opposition throughout their playoff runs, and even reaching a Super Bowl doesn't automatically mean more, because it matters who's actually lined up on the other side of the ball. That context matters a lot when you're trying to judge who actually performed better under real pressure, in real road environments, against real competition. Even in the run game, the gap shows up. Jayden finished with right around 890 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground, at 6 yards per carry. Maye had about 450 yards and 4 scores. Caleb Williams was even lower, under 400 yards with 3 touchdowns. So, it's not just the passing numbers, it's the complete game. The running, the extra plays he creates, the way he keeps drives alive with his legs when the pocket breaks down. And honestly, this is where Riddick made his strongest point of the whole breakdown. He pointed out that if you strip away Jayden's rushing production from the Commanders' offense, the run game numbers as a whole take a massive hit. Compare that to a team like the Bears, who led the league in rushing yards, and remember, that number came without much involvement from Caleb Williams on the ground at all. So, the argument here is that Jayden isn't just adding to an offense that already works without him. He's a huge part of what makes it work in the first place. And that's a totally different value than just being a guy who hands the ball off and lets everybody else do the heavy lifting. There's also a bigger picture point here. If we're going to say that only the most recent season matters when ranking these guys, we have to be consistent about that across the whole league, not just when it's convenient. If recent form is truly all that counts, then guys like Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson would all need to be reevaluated every single year based purely on the last 12 months. Under that logic, you'd have to seriously consider someone like Sam Darnold, a top 3 or top 4 quarterback right now, off one strong stretch, and nobody actually believes that once they think it through. So, once you factor in coaching, scheme, and the weapons a guy actually has, Jayden wins that argument too. Without Caleb Williams doing much on the ground, the Bears still rushed for over 2,000 yards as a team, one of the better rushing offenses in the league. Take away Jayden's own rushing yards from the Commanders' total, and what's left is barely over 1,700 yards from everybody else combined. So, we have to be honest about what we're comparing here. A guy creating a huge chunk of his team's rushing production himself, and still producing at a higher level through the air. There's also this whole idea that gets thrown around, that Jayden's rookie year was great, but now people want to act like it doesn't count anymore since he dealt with injuries the following season. And I get it, recency matters in these conversations, but be honest with yourself for a second. Maye got hurt as a rookie too. Bo Nix broke his ankle. McCarthy and Michael Penix haven't even played close to a full season combined between the two of them. So why is Jayden the only one getting the injury narrative used against him like it erases everything he already showed us? And if you flip it around and imagine Jayden having last season's version of himself in his rookie year instead, you already know the answer. People still wouldn't rank anybody ahead of him. So, when you put it all together, the efficiency, the situational splits, the playoff performance, and the impact on the run game, it makes sense why Riddick is so firm on where he has Jayden ranked. He's not saying it to be controversial, he's saying it because the tape and the numbers back it up.